Hey everybody, welcome to Fearless and Free TV and Wonder Women Wednesdays. Today I'm talking to my very good friend Joan of Angels. Joan, today we're going to be talking all about Joan.
I'm fine with that. Just so you know.
It's your favorite subject, right?
I did tell you that. Okay. It's my favorite subject just to share what I've learned with people who might be interested in. Yes.
So one thing we haven't talked about, Joan's been on the show a couple of times before. We've talked about what kind of work she's doing in the world, but today I want to talk about Joan, who she is, where she's been, how she came to be who she is. Because one of the things I want to do on Wonder Women Wednesdays is to help people hear the story of how women came to be who they are and where they are. One of the things I really promote in my work is that what's been missing from our human planetary experience are better stories. So all we hear on the media are all the bad things that are happening in the world and all the horrible. I was talking to a client this morning. We were talking about how in history, all we're hearing about the wars and the heroes of the wars, but we're not hearing her side of the story. So Wonder Women Wednesdays is about her hearing her story. And her side of the story, not just Joan's, but the feminine side of the story is about love and healing and transformation and the good things that have happened in our human story. We're not focusing on all the violence and all those stories that have kept humanity in fear. We're here now to put humanity into a state of love, and that comes with telling better stories. And how better to do that than to start telling her stories?
I love that. Her stories as opposed to his story.
Yeah.
His story, her story. Okay.
And there's no againstness in any of it. It's not like this is competition for men's stories. This is just about telling the other side of the story so that we can come into balance and harmony with the masculine, not with either one above each other, but to understand that both sides of the story are important to create balance. So that's where my focus is with Wonder Women Wednesdays. So Joan, tell us about you. I know where you are now with your Miracle Monday show and your, what's the name of your program again?
Step into the Miraculous.
Step in the Miraculous. So Joan's all about creating personal miracles in our lives and communicating with our angels. What I want to know is how you got from where you were to now.
It's a great question, and I really appreciate it. I'm so happy to be on your show, Victoria, just so you know, and to be doing it just like this and not in separate places is even better. I can hear us all clapping already.
Oh, this is Joan's studio, by the way, in case you're wondering about all the artwork. Joan's a painter, and I decided to skip town because it's all cold and gloomy at the beach and come spend a week in the desert in the warm sun with
in the
Joan.
sunny, warm desert. Yes. Okay. So there's two parts to the story. Okay. Oh, there's so many parts to the story. Do you know what? So when I was 30 years old, I went to a visioning workshop and I was given this vision or stepped into it that I was here to heal and inspire millions of people. There was a gorgeous angel behind me. I was standing there like graceful and gorgeous, and millions of people going by and dropping their crutches. Okay. It was a very powerful vision. So I've had a vision of who I am since I was 30, and everything else was just how it was going to unfold. So I was a chiropractor. I loved being a chiropractor. I used to tell everyone I'm here to turn on your power, which is what I still say. When I do my work, I'm here to help you turn on your power. I'm here to help align you to align your body, mind, and spirit so you can do your mission and purpose.
Don't forget the heart.
And last night, I included it last night. The mind, body, spirit, and heart. And I think we have a few others to include there, but we'll start with mine. But anyway, yes. So I've always had that desire to help people heal their bodies from inside out, know who they are, and do what they came here to do. And so that really is kind of the vision that inspired me. But what made me, that transformational dark night of the soul made all of this happen was that I was in my practice. I knew something wasn't quite right. And then I was injured and I lost my practice. So I could no longer practice as a chiropractor. And I had been into it about 20 years. Mm-hmm. So it was quite a shock to my system. And ultimately, the insurance company stopped paying and my kids and I lost everything. I don't even think I told you the story. We lost our home, our car, everything, packed the kids and I into the car, and we were literally without a home and camping out. And while that happened, which was very traumatic, extremely traumatic, because I'd had that practice almost 20 years. Also, I'd had a great income all those 20 years. So suddenly I'm now homeless, without a home, with my kids, not knowing what was going to happen. And my kids were beautiful. Every night we started, so I was a masterminder. I used to teach masterminding. And every night we would sit together in wherever we were staying, and we would hold hands, and we started something that ultimately we called the Miracle Makers Club. We would hold hands, we would visualize what we wanted, we would chant, we would see it manifesting and into action. And so we started to continually visualize how we wanted our life to be. My daughter, precious soul that she was, said, Mom, when we pull it all together, when we get our money back, because my kids always believed in me, and that's the power of positive thinking. She said, when we get our money back, Mom, can we go around the world and help other people who are suffering like we did, so they don't have to suffer anymore? So that was the foundation of our Miracle Makers Club, because we did get our miracle. The club itself, actually the positive visualizations, created a shift in our circumstances, let's put it that way. And we went on to actually win a lawsuit against the insurance company big time. So I went on to create the Miracle Makers Club, which
that's my phone. I'm going to turn it off.
No idea. I thought there was an earthquake happening in the studio here.
My ringtone is pennies from heaven.
Couldn't figure that out. Okay, so that was stage one, Victoria, and I started writing books on miracles, teaching people about how to step into the miraculous, until I had a blip. Okay, and in 2013, I had a blip, and once again, or maybe it was it 2000? It was sometime around then, 2012, where I lost everything a second time. Believe me, it's harder the second time. And I really, literally, suddenly, I couldn't even talk about miracles. I met this woman who had my book at the Miracle Makers Club, and she said to me, well, I'm very disappointed you're not that woman. Okay, so talk about wanting to have the floor swallow me up. Okay, in humiliation. It was horrible. And ultimately we became friends. She invited me to a plant medicine ceremony, by the way, which was life-changing for me. And that was October 2013. And I'm telling you that because Halloween is coming up again here, 2021. And that's the anniversary, because on that night I set out to paint. And I heard these voices that said, Joan, paint 33 angels in 30 days. And I said, oh, I can't paint eyes. And the voice was persistent. It was a calling. And before you know it, by the end of that night, I agreed to paint 33 angels in 30 days, which I did.
So how many do you think you've painted since then?
Great question.
Several
hundred.
Yeah, I see at least 33 here, and they're all over. So they're all over the place.
They're all over the place, and I've sold some too.
I know you've sold some too. That's why I'm asking how many you think you've painted. But that
hundreds, it's still hundreds. It's not thousands yet, hundreds. And I have to have the soul calling to paint the art. But what's unique about the art, Victoria said, the art calls humans. Mm-hmm. Like the painting back there that called you.
That one right there.
Yeah. And then
above the lamp. That one's going to be mine.
And there's a lot of competition, but for you, it's got to go into your new place. But the art calls to humans, because the art is part of what I do, this upliftment of humanity, this helping you remember who you are, why you're here. And the art is actually part of that, yes. And so I want to say this for your readers right now. It's very hard to find images of the art. I will give her my Etsy link, but if you really want to see the art, you can book a private appointment, and I'll take you around on Zoom to see the art. Okay.
A virtual tour.
A virtual tour.
I love that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then the art will call you, just like it's calling Victoria. and then it will start to help channel. It'll start help waking your soul up. It'll bring balance and harmony to your house, and you will hear the chatter of angels all the time.
And I think people know which one is theirs. I'm looking that these beings are beautiful.
Well, what you don't know is that they carry the frequency of those beings, so that the energy, this house, I'd say, is filled with the different divine beings that are here. And some people can see them and hear them. Some people can't sleep at night, by the way, because they hear them. They get woken up at night and they can't sleep. And sometimes I can't have any art in my bedroom because it's too noisy.
Oh, interesting.
But I don't think that'll happen to you guys. I think that because I have so many here, but the art will connect with you in a very, very deep and meaningful way and help you remember more about your soul purpose and why you're here and what you need in your heart to heal or have your awakening.
So you started painting angels, and then what?
Oh, crazy. I painted Archangel Gabriel, and I was invited to this workshop in the desert. And this woman was talking about how she channels Archangel Gabriel. And I was a little disappointed because she only talked about how she prepared. She never talked about how she contacted him. But it's the preparation that I've learned is the most important. Anyway, I showed her the picture of Archangel Gabriel, and she loved it like I knew she would. It was like Spirit set it up. So I came out to the desert the following week. She bought a few paintings, not just Gabriel. And then she said, "Do you mind? Gabriel wants to talk to you. Do you mind?"
Oh,
okay. And that's how I got here in the desert. Gabriel, in his British accent, she challenged him in a British accent, explained to me that it was time for me to come to the desert so I could actually increase my connection to spirit, to source, and to all these beings. So lo and behold, I moved here like less than a month later. And I was having breakfast the second day I was here with this beautiful woman who lives here. I never met her before. She looks at me, she says, just like this, "What did you say your name was?" And we were in a busy restaurant, and suddenly the place went dead silent. Time stopped. And she said, "Wait, don't tell me." Because I started saying, "I'm Joan," with my last name. And she said, "Wait, it's calling." Mm-hmm. And she says, "You're Joan." She said, "I know who you are. You're Joan of," and I thought she was going to say Joan of Arc, but she said Joan of Angels. So that's how I became Joan of Angels. I took the name, and the last 6 years I've been stepping into it, meaning understanding it's not we don't just have a name. We have an ability to step into the power of that. And I'd say that the last few months in particular, I've been invoking the power of the Archangel Joan of Archangel, which I think is pretty interesting. It's a very powerful energy that comes through me sometimes in my presentations and talks and in my healings. That is the power of the archangels, I think.
Wow. I never thought about that before. Joan of Archangel. Oh my gosh, it makes so much sense.
Well, the backstory is that I always
but that's
Joan of Arc was my heroine,
right?
The one person I wanted to be. So when she said Joan of, I was going, "Oh my God, she's going to say Joan of Arc. She thinks maybe I was Joan of Arc in the past life."
But you're Joan of Angels, and Joan of Arc is one of your guides.
She's one of my guides. She comes to me very frequently, discussing the energy of miracles and believing in what you hear. Mm-hmm. Remember something. She was a 14-year-old girl who had the chutzpah to go to demand to go be taken to the king. Like that you'd have your head cut off for that. A peasant, she didn't have influence. It's like you and I going and saying, "We are going to go see the king because we have to help him win this war."
Yeah, they don't laugh at us until it's crazy. But then even worse, because you would have your head chopped off because A, you're a girl, B, you're a commoner, and
right. And see, only the kings can talk to God themselves. But I will say this, I sometimes really wish that I could talk to our leaders. So I do have that Joan of Arc spark, because I think, God, if I could only get to them and explain to them what's going on.
Yeah, the sad thing is they're not open. We can telepathically try to communicate with their higher self and try to get their higher self to communicate with them, which is I've tried to do. But if they're not listening, then they just won't even hear it.
Well, I will say this. If it's in our destiny, it will happen. And I had an incident with Paris Hilton where I was at a seminar, I'm reading all about what a creep she is. The woman is saying she'll never have a consciousness. And I heard a voice. It was Princess Diana. It was like, no, she doesn't know who she is.
Mm-hmm.
Please remind her of who she is. And I sat there and having lunch going, well, how the heck am I going to remind Paris Hilton who she is? And then I put it out there. Okay, if I'm meant to have an impact with her, let it be. And that night, it was the same night, I went home and I used to read the Sunday paper or the Saturday paper, whatever it was in those days. I don't anymore, but I was reading it, and there's an article. There's an advertisement for Macy's, and Paris Hilton was coming to San Francisco downtown Macy's the very next day. And for $150, I could have a perfume and my photo taken with Paris. So within 24 hours of making that statement, I gave her my book with a note in it, and it was really very powerful. And it talked about Princess Diana in the letter that I gave her. And then the very next day, or 2 days later, TMZ, all the entertainment channels had pictures of Paris walking around Los Angeles carrying my book.
What?
Saying, what, Paris needs a miracle?
That's great. So I have a Paris story too.
Okay.
That's so funny. So my husband, as I call him, is in line at the cell store. This was like 20 years ago. He was in line at the cell store getting his cell phone repaired. And Paris is standing in line behind him. There's this long line, and she was like, get out of my way, get out of my way. And my husband's like, no. She goes, well, don't you know who I am? And he basically said, I don't care who you are. She goes, I'm Paris Hilton. I need to go to the front of the line. And he's like, no, you get to stand in line like the rest of us. I nenever even heard her name before. I had to like, who the heck is Paris Hilton?
She said that
she said that to your husband. Don't you know who I am? And he was basically, I don't give a F who you are. You gotta stand in line with the rest of us.
I like your husband, just so you know. Not impressed by the celebrity nature. And it's true. Why should a celebrity get to go to the front of the line when, heck, I'm a celebrity too.
I am too.
And so are you out
Absolutely.
there. All your great audience. You guys are the celebrities too. Can you imagine we all go in and say, look, I'm Paris.
We all just need to remember who we are. Ultimately, that's what it comes down to. We all just need to remember who we are.
And your husband really remembered who he is in the face of authority or celebrity.
He's never played that whole celebrity game. He just doesn't, never has. So that's interesting. So you're kind of reminding her who she was, because apparently she thought she knew who she was when she was standing in line at a cell phone store. And maybe you actually will remind her who she really is.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if your husband saw her after she had the wake up call.
Oh no, it was
Book
before.
Of Miracles. It was before. Okay. Yeah. Well, I don't know much about her anymore, but I do know that when we put things in motion, and if it is for our highest good, and in our destiny, it will unfold. The whole point of the story was within 24 hours of that calling or message, I actually was able to effect a change, just like Joan of Arc. Okay.
Yeah.
Kind of. See how I got it back to that subject?
You got the calling and you showed up and you played the role that you were feeling called to play.
Right.
And who knows? That's the thing, is not having the attachments to the work that we do, right? You did your part, but then she does with it is up to her.
Right.
So for all of us out there, we listen to the call, we do our work, and not have attachments to how it's received.
Right.
So after that, then what? So what then got you from writing a book and painting pictures to the kind of work that you do now?
So I should explain that I've always done the kind of work I'm doing now, in a sense. Okay. So I'm a chiropractor by trade, by one training. My work has always been healing, using a lot of energy with people. So I can actually, I'm a medical intuitive of sorts when I do hands-on healing. But I also have a master's in counseling. So I've always had an interest in consulting, coaching, and counseling. And I was very gifted at it, even without training, because I'm an empath and I'm a very strong empath. So one of the things I wanted to do growing up was be a psychoanalyst. Okay. I ended up going to
cool.
chiropractic school instead of medical, but I wanted to be a psychoanalyst because it came like second nature to me to understand what was going through people. So once I was no longer able to practice, I started in a sort of second life. And my second life was starting to teach people then how they can step into the miraculous and have good things happen to them, how they could start to remember, and sort of evolved into remembering who you are, your purpose, your big picture. So I started to do readings for people and then testing myself. Is this real? Are the readings so good because that's my best friend? And of course I know everything about her, right? So I had to evolve out of that state, all right, although the readings were really good anyway. But then I forced myself to go to Costa Rica. One year I had property there, so I'm in Costa Rica meeting new people. I set up a little table in the restaurant, $15 for 15 minutes. And I was blown away because it became organic. And I had promised myself I would get over my fear and try it, because all these years psychics used to tell me I was on the wrong side of the table. They'd say, oh, you shouldn't be paying us. You should be on this side.
Oh,
but
okay.
once I embraced it, so the truth is that we all have gifts. And I was learning, because I couldn't do the gift of healing the way I could anymore. I had to learn how to do healing face to face, like this. And so that's what happened. I evolved into trusting the gifts that I had. I developed them, and I became an oracle. I started to look at people's soul purpose, why they're here, and do groups and teach. And in a sense, then I began writing books on miracles. And I'm a public speaker. I'm a workshop leader. I'm a teacher. I'm a healer. And people have readings with me and love them, or they have the soul mastery coaching, and they have that guidance they need to get to where they want to go.
Okay.
That's what I do.
That's what you do now. It's interesting. So what I'm hearing is there's what you are doing for a living, and then there's also who we are being. That's one of the things I know is going to be changing in the next few years. Is there's part of this old world we're moving out of is our need to clarify who we are by the kind of work that we do. And I want to start to change that narrative when we meet someone, and instead of asking them what they do, asking them, who are you being? Can you imagine
that's great, because I'm being me, and I have all of these aspects that I love to do.
Mm-hmm.
But mostly I work with people who are awakening to their soul calling, who want to know more about where they are. But there's different ways we work with it. You do the same thing, Victoria. You help people remember, but you have your shows and your coaching and your books and your teachers. It's the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And now we throw into the mix the art.
Right. And nobody does just one thing.
You can't.
And that's what I was seeing a couple of years ago. It's like this new renaissance, right? Where nobody does this idea that we have to have a label for the work that we do. It's like, what do you do? And then people are like, well, oh my gosh, you're gonna love this. What I heard is I'm a galactic engineer. Oh my gosh, there actually are. There actually are some people on the planet that are galactic engineers.
There are galactic engineers, yes, and they come usually from the insect tribes and the ant families and the praying mantis families. There are a lot of technical.
There are galactic engineers on the planet,
and you have a little bit of that.
Don't even know that. A lot of people don't even know that's what they are. They think they're mathematicians and engineers because that's what they went to school for, but they're actually on a soul level, they're galactic engineers here to actually change the constructs of the human experience.
Yes.
But we're not limited anymore by one title. So one of the things that I've gotten frustrated with in the different times of my life when I've been in transition and people meet me and they ask me what I do, I'm like, there was always a part of my ego that was like, I'm a stay-at-home mom. I'm in transition. Because I didn't have a confident answer to what the question was, because we put so much emphasis on the labels of the kind of work that we do. And that's got to shift. That's why I was saying, let's talk about who we are being rather than what we do.
Yes. Well, I'm being brilliant, compassionate, loving, kind, beautiful, alert, in tune, connected, and in service.
Mm-hmm.
That's That's how I'm
And
being
you
today.
feel art move through you, and you feel words move through you, and right. So you express art. You're an artist as you express art. You're
I actually play the
speaking.
piano too.
So
see?
you're a creative.
Yes, a
Right.
creator. So spirit moves through, spirit channels a lot of this information. But I think really, you want to know what I think the key is for everyone? The key is actually listening. Okay. I'm convinced spirit runs through, and everyone wants to talk to all of you. It's only a matter of listening. Like, oh, as opposed to ignoring. So, like the night I got the call to paint 33 angels in 30 days, the truth was that was annoying to me.
Yeah.
It's like 33 angels. You have got to be kidding. And I had that argument. It's like, you have got to be kidding. What? 33 paintings. That's 33 paintings, 33 canvases, immersed in the oils, up to here.
Did you even have paints and canvases?
I did. I had just come back from Mexico, and I had a ton of art supplies that I had accumulated. Yes.
Okay.
But the calling itself seemed like too much work. And trust me, I've heard this voice other times, and I have learned the hard way that I need to say yes, because they only give that call for a certain amount of time. They sent that call out to there might have been other people who could have been Joan of Angels, is what I'm trying to say.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I've gotten that message before. It's like, if you don't do it, we'll give it to somebody else.
That's right. So it's a matter of listening to the calling and being so grateful. In the end, I was so grateful because it was a light at the end of the tunnel, and I did those 33 paintings. That month was the most exciting month of my life because I was constantly in this trance kind of state, painting, feeling spirit. They would tell me a few things and I'd move on. People would say, oh my God, that looks like my sister who departed a few years ago, and departed loved ones were popping up all over the place. I didn't know. I'm just doing what they tell me. But I hang them up on the wall, and the book fell off the shelf that says, your call for angelic assistance has been heard. So that was my turning point, because I had been asking for help. Remember, I was embarrassed. I was no longer this miracle maker. Mm-hmm. Now suddenly I'm turned on, and I'm being told that I'm here to bring messages from the divine to people, to humanity, that I was a paintbrush, that I was to do this kind of work. So I went from one side to, oh my God, I'm finding my bliss, and this is where my calling is. And when I heard the call, by the way, I kind of knew that it would be the opportunity my guides were giving to redeem my life, to reclaim it, to step back in. Spirit always offers us a chance for reformation or for reclaiming. And that was my chance. And I did not like being down here. Okay. Did not like it. My friend Heather, who actually confronted me and said, you're not a miracle maker. And I was like, ah! You know how that feels, right?
Oh my gosh, she's heartbreaking.
I was hard. So I said yes. Okay. And I recommend, if you don't have any doubts, say yes.
So you've become a miracle maker again, though. You just needed to bring that part of you back to life. And that reclamation is interesting. I hadn't thought about that before, but that's what happened with those angels, is that you started to reclaim your life again.
Yes, because suddenly I had a purpose, a mission, and a calling. And the good news is that after I did those 33 paintings, my angels took mercy on me and gave me step 2.
What was step 2?
Step 2, because they wouldn't tell me until I finished.
Right.
Because it would have overwhelmed me. So step 2 is paint us and we will come. Very loud. It was paint us and we will come. And I went, oh my God, what do they mean? Paint us and we will come. And the next morning I got up and I went to Aaron Brothers and I bought this huge canvas, the size, it's right over there. Anyway, I had these huge canvases, the canvas like the painting you like, the big ones. And suddenly now they're big paintings. The ones I was doing was this size. And oh my God, it was a fun fest.
Wow.
I could close my eyes and paint, turn the canvas upside down and paint, because I was being a paintbrush.
So you're basically just channeling it in a sense. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's kind of how writing works too. As you know, I used to wonder, how do people paint all these amazing things? How do people write these amazing books? And it's about being tapped in, and you're basically channeling the art, you're channeling the words,
Yeah.
you're channeling. And now what I love about your paintings, I love how we put bling in some of them. I love that one up there with the red third eye.
Yeah, she's gorgeous.
That is gorgeous.
She's absolutely stunning.
I would show it to all of you, but I need a ladder to get it down so you can't see it. It's beautiful.
I put bling in the paintings because it brings them to life. So what will happen, which is pretty funny, is I'll go in and paint, and then a couple of days later, I'll get a message that says, I need makeup. I need eye things. I need you to do stuff. Like I'll feel it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'll go in the garage and start adding glitter and bling. I had this fine artist tell me, if you ever want to be a fine artists don't use sparkles and glitter and jewels. And so for about 6 months, I wouldn't use them. And the paintings just started to push me to go back to do it. So like, even if I do it on the originals and I do it on Jaclays that I make for people too. It's so fun. The little angels chatting up, put in these blue, purple, little things here, spray over here, a little glitter here.
Well, they went to shine and sparkle. So yeah,
they do.
And art doesn't have to follow other people's rules. That's just crazy. We go through life following other people's rules instead of following what the heart is speaking through us. And you're listening.
I know I'm listening. I will say this though, that we're human, and the human mind, and that we're fifth dimensional and above beings walking around in a 3D body. And that's where the conundrum becomes. Mm-hmm. How do you really learn to walk both worlds effectively, efficiently, successfully,
and gracefully?
Not fall flat on your face. That's so true. Yes. But it's a fine line to learn how to manage your relationships from the highest frequencies, not from your raging, emotional, needy self. So there's a lot of training that goes on as we raise raise the bar for ourselves. Yeah. We get out of all those old patterns, the things that have kept us from hearing the call or from saying yes to the call, and then moving forward. That's huge. That's huge. That makes the biggest difference between you, Victoria, and I, and what we're doing, and many others. It's a matter of saying yes and trusting. Like, it was pretty random, 33 angels in 30 days. I wasn't expecting it. But but thinking on your feet and that art of saying yes. Because if you don't say yes, then the opportunity is given to someone else. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, and usually when you're stepping into, again, I call it stepping into your higher purpose. When you're stepping into your higher purpose. So you had your life purpose of being the chiropractor. Then there's this higher purpose of being Joan of Angels. And that higher purpose is usually, it's a bigger calling. And it can be scary and intimidating. I mean, I won't get into what I knew mine was, but when I first heard it, I was like, no, not me. And it took a while for me to feel comfortable with with the work that I know I'm here to be. And there has to be, as you were saying, that there's first listening to the call, then there's saying yes to the call and stepping forward in it, and then trusting it. That's the hard part, is the
trusting of it, that you're not nuts, that you really got that call, that you're really going around the world telling people you're Joan of Angels. You think, just so you know, you really have to trust, because in the beginning that was really hard. Mm-hmm. I couldn't. I really would fall apart, cover my face in 100 different ways. And I have two names, Dr. Joan Hangarter or Joan of Angels, and trying to walk both worlds has been an interesting and fun. So fun, because now Joan of Angels
Dr. Joan of Angels.
Well, some people call me Dr. Joan, and I actually really like it. And people have said you should just be Dr. Joan of Angels. Guys, let me know what you think. Dr. Joan of Angels or Joan of Angels, or whatever you want to call me. But anyway, it has been fun because, yes, it's called stretching. So as I stepped into Joan of Angels, then I almost became like Joan of Arc in a certain way. in the fact that my reach and my expansiveness has grown, and my desire to serve large numbers and be of service has grown, so that even when I'm doing my public speaking, I'm really invoking the higher powers now with confidence, faith, authority, and belief.
And you couldn't have touched that many lives being a chiropractor. Now, there's some chiropractors
Oh no,
that
I
have,
couldn't. No,
there's some chiropractors that have a huge following and then public speaking and all of that. And there are some who have stretched beyond just being a doctor treating clients in their own office. But being Joan of Angels, you have a much wider, more vast, expansive touch on the human experience than you could ever have had on a few people in your clinic.
That was the frustration. I used to imagine, how could I adjust 10 people at once? Let's get them all in the room and do group healing, 100 people, 50, really, that was in the back of my mind. And I was already planning on writing books and speaking. I had this beautiful guide. Oh, that was my other healing guide. Forgot all about this. I had this amazing master teacher that every morning I would talk to before I started working on patients. But I've learned to combine this. So in a way, it's still Dr. Joan. It is Dr. Joan, because
you do still have the healing
I
hands.
still use my healing hands. I work as a medical intuitive for many people. I believe in teaching people how to heal from the inside out. It is one of my callings to do that, as well as helping people remember how to be yourself this life, how to really do you authentically. Finally, at last, how can you listen to that calling and unfold the package of the program, what you really designed for yourself before you even got here? And so that when you move on, you could actually say, I completed it. Finally, 2000, the 2000s, I was able to complete the mission and soul purpose that I've had for thousands of years, probably many lifetimes. And this is our opportunity. And the reason we want to do it, Victoria, is that we're so needed. We're so needed right now. The planet is struggling, meaning the people are struggling. And this is the time that we actually made an appointment with Spirit to do it. In other words, I can be big now. I can be that Joan of Angels, because there's a tribe that needs it, as opposed to like just ranting in the wind.
Right,
Okay.
right.
I don't know if that makes sense.
It does make sense, because the technology that we have now that did not exist before allows us to have a presence in the world that was just not available before. So sometimes people complain about technologies, but understanding that all these technological advancements that we have right now, there's two sides to every story. So the technology is just technology. Technology is not good or bad. It's not good or evil. It's a tool, and it just depends on whose hands it's in. So this amazing tool that we have, which is video,
that we can reach people around the world right now.
All across the world, people are going to be watching this video, and that was never available before. Prior to this, the information was controlled over who got to see what. So the publishing industry was so controlled. People only got to read the books that the publishers approved for us to read.
Oh, right. Okay. I forgot all about that.
The music industry was completely controlled, and we only listened to the music that we were told we got to listen to. All of our education was completely controlled. We only learned what our minister at church told us to learn, or what our schools told us to learn. And now we have access to all kinds of information. So there is some that the fight back on that, of some people are attempting to draw back some of that control. But the truth is, we have more freedom now than we've ever had to be able to speak on a global level and make these connections globally we've never been able to make before.
And as women. Okay.
And as women, because women have never been able to do it to this degree before.
And as women are still enslaved around parts of the world. So this is a call out to all of us to come together as women around the world to first step into our own power, and then learn why we're here and how we came here to help, in what way we've come here to help, so we can actually free the planet. I think that's really important. Miracles are needed now more than ever. Holy moly, everyone. all across the globe needs the power of those miracles, of that transformation, of those new energies.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
And you know what's interesting? I was just sensing, Joan, that the angels are in the Bible. It only talks about the male angels. Look, the angels that you paint, a lot of them are female. And so that's the energy that's on the planet right now, are the feminine angels. The feminine is being reawoken so that we can go heal the hearts of humanity. It's not about taking over the patriarchy and creating a matriarchy. People have got to get past that. This is about the feminine being resurrected to her collective power of healing the human hearts all over the world. That's why we're here. That's why I have Wonder Women Wednesdays. It's about
right. I get it. Well, it's about celebrating.
Yeah.
First of all, how wonderful it is that we can be here on Zoom and connect to other women around the world.
Yes.
We're free. We're free people. We have our own voice. And a secret that I did about 20 years ago, I can't remember exactly what triggered it, but I wanted to be the kind of woman I admired. And it was very strong on my heart. I actually was tired of just not being anything extraordinary. I just wanted to be the kind of woman I admired. Mm-hmm. And I consciously started to choose different things to do, different kind of life choices that was representing me admiring myself. And that's changed me completely.
So, you know what's really interesting about that is I had heard, years ago, 10 years ago, so when I first started having a spiritual awakening, about how things that we don't like in other people are projections of self-judgment, right? And then I went to an event and the speaker said, if there are things you admire in someone else, it's because that's in you too. So if there are things about other people you don't like, it's because there's something inside of us that's calling for our attention to resolve. And if there are things about other people that we admire, it's because that's in us too. And the crazy thing, the cool thing is, we wouldn't even be able to recognize it in someone else if it didn't exist in us.
Wow. That's very profound and it's very, very true. Absolutely. And what's even more true is we have to keep reaffirming it and keep seeing it in others. And I think that's why this show of yours is actually so important. Women's stories. People didn't even care about women's stories 100 years ago. It was hard to get your story ever printed. And you were owned by someone, controlled by someone, and you didn't have this freedom. So I think it's wonderful to hear all the stories that I get to hear of how women are coming into their personal power.
Yeah, and the ability to create. It's like with the painting. So it wasn't that long ago that women weren't allowed to paint for money. They could paint, but they could only paint for their friends. They weren't allowed to paint for money.
Oh,
did you know that? So some women who painted actually used men's names so that they could make money with their painting.
Oh, that's what happened. Okay, and then some of the men claimed that they were the artists that did that.
Right, and then there have been some of those cases, and women weren't allowed to perform music. Right. Only men could perform music. So women could perform music in their home and with their friends when they had women over, but they weren't allowed to actually be artists. And so there is that. So this is part of what's happening with this awakening of the divine feminine with all of us, is that we are now able to perform our gifts on our crafts and also make money with them. That was not ever allowed before. And that's one of the reasons their stories were never told, because women have always made a huge impact in the world. They just weren't ever allowed.
Right. They were the silent ones.
Right. They weren't allowed to make money with their gifts. And so they kind of got, pushed off in the corner or whatever.
And women were not allowed to heal.
No.
Oh my God. Think of all the women that you probably know.
Well, they were called witches.
They were called witches. So if you had the healing gifts that Victoria and I have, you were automatically a witch. Now they say woo-woo, but witch. And you were burned at the stake.
It starts with the same letter. Witch and woo-woo.
witch and woo-woo.
And how many of us have been burned at the stake? How many times now?
Well, and
Yeah,
that's right. We
burned
come
at the
in-
stake,
But we-
drowned, whatever. Yeah.
And we come in with those soul memories. Okay. So we come in, many of us, with this automatic, like, don't say it.
The throat
Don't
chakra is
channel,
closed. Yeah.
because only men can channel spirit, right? And God. So God forbid you should have that ability, or only men. This was the most frustrating. Only a man doctor could heal you.
Right.
Where we know that it was the women who were the best healers on the planet with their,
Because we can feel.
they could feel, they know intuitively, and with the herbs and the tinctures and natural healing. And the men couldn't stand it. So what did they do? They had the competition, which was us, burned at the stake. So if you're just coming into your own powers now, understand that these are different times. However, it is about embracing the gifts that you've been given, no matter what, because you were given to them for a reason, and the time is now. This is the reason,
right,
to wake up and to do it now. It's not going to be next year. It is now, and I really feel that strongly.
And the thing is to not be afraid. So one of the things that I've noticed over the years is that a lot of women who have incarnated with these gifts multiple times are really afraid to. It's like there's a strictness on their throat. They are afraid to speak their truth because that's been the narratives for so many centuries that it's not safe for women to speak their truth. And so that's what we're here to say is it is safe. This time it's safe. It's safe to speak our truth. It's safe to have our gifts. It's safe to do our healing. It's this time.
Right? Well, here's the thing. I have been saying, and my guides told me that I wasn't going to lose my head this time. Or
I got that too. It's safe this time.
Okay, but it's not that they said it's safe this time. They said so much that it's going to be complicated, this life.
Right.
Because now you're going to be allowed to come out. Not everyone's going to love you, and there will be pushback. There's tremendous pushback these days.
But we're not going to get murdered for it this time.
No, but it's a war of words, but it's also about you claiming the most amazing powers that are inside of you that have been suppressed because you were a, quote, woman. And not just this lifetime, but thousands of lifetimes. So this is the call to wake up, to do what you came here to do, to remember it, so that we can all grow together. We become stronger collectively. It's not one ruling the other. It's with each other, with this tribe that's growing, and that's how we'll step into this soul mastery.
Absolutely. And one person has always made a difference. That's one of the things I hear two people say, well, I'm just one person. What can I do? One person is the only thing that's ever made a difference, but it's one person with one person with one person. We do it together. No one has ever been self-made. That's what's hysterical to me. I used to think I'm a self-made woman. And then I realized, wait a minute, that's actually not true, because I wouldn't be who I am without my clients,
right,
without my gifts, without the people that support me, without this plan that you all
had
of those other people. Yeah, it's impossible to do it alone. And so rather than trying to do it alone, let's start looking at who can I surround myself with, and we can do it together. Like us.
Like right now. So
look how much more fun it is.
We didn't even want to do it on separate Zoom platforms. We wanted to do it in the same room, which in these days it's a little uncommon. But I think it's about being or trusting that you're different from others. That you're unique, and that uniqueness is your specialness. That's it. That's the juice. And when you try to get rid of that uniqueness because you're embarrassed, then.
But that's the hard part, because a lot of people whose gifts are just now awakening, it's kind of scary, right? In the very beginning, it's a little scary. It's intimidating. And it's like, I don't, who can you trust to tell people that you have these spiritual gifts? And so it's normal to be surrounded by a lot of people who just don't understand.
Yes.
And to follow your gifts anyway.
Yes.
And know that there are thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of us who get it.
Maybe
and
millions.
to do support you. I think it's millions. I think it's actually
maybe millions. Women are waking up around the planet. They are no longer agreeing to that slavery program.
And not just women. How many men are starting to get it too, and who are really understand that when you support the feminine, you support the entire human experience. And so a lot of men are starting to get that too. And a lot of men's healing gifts are starting to wake up because they're tapping into their feminine side.
I agree.
Right? And the healing is actually feminine, not masculine. So those healing gifts.
Because if we've been trying to be something we're not, and now we're suddenly allowing ourselves to be who we really innately are, that gives them the freedom to then claim their own power as a sensitive, intuitive male. Okay? Right. Maybe that's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
But we're not talking about the men today.
And it's not feminizing them. So that was one of the in words a couple of years ago. It's not that. It's about us stepping to the knowing of who we are. And when we step into the knowing of who we are and mutually support each other. And what I was hearing a couple of days ago is that it's almost up to 1 billion.
Almost
up to 1 billion of awakened people.
Awakened people. And that is awesome because we're way beyond the 100 monkey. And it is contagious. And when I look at a globe in my visualizations, I can literally see each of us who are light beings popping their light out. So we can imagine circling the globe and just seeing all that light from these billion souls. And that's what Spirit's seeing. And that's what's enhancing. So one of the things I do on Miracle Mondays is we do this Tower of Miracle Power. And we send up an antenna wherever you are. You send up your own electrical field. It's a little more complicated than that. But then we radiate out, and our antenna hooks up with wherever you are, New Zealand, Australia, Canada. It doesn't matter where you are, but we have this whole grid around the planet. And now that I know the 1 billion, I'm going to add those 1 billion to the grid we're doing.
So I started seeing that about 10 years ago. You'd see, I'm like, oh, bright lights. You can see these bright lights all over the place. But now they're getting to be so many of them that we are lighting up the planet. Lighting it up. And it will be so bright that the darkness can't even exist anymore in our presence. So we have to get to the point where we trust our own light.
So cute. I say the same thing. It's like I tell people, so light so the dark can't be here. We use some of the same terminology. I find that
because we're part of the same tribe.
We are part of the soul tribe. And that's the other secret. Find your soul tribe. And nowadays, people are finding their soul tribe on YouTube. They're finding it on Facebook. But find your soul tribe. Find those people, those speakers, those who knocks your socks off, who resonates with you, and who inspires you to do the next step.
Absolutely. So before we head out, you talked about your Miracle Mondays. What do you do on that show?
Oh, okay. So this is amazing about Miracle Mondays because it's really been growing. I want to give you a good, so every week we talk about different aspects of stepping into the miraculous life, okay? Or shifting your energy or to the higher vibration to attract miracles into your life. Sometimes I do healings, like last night's show, did a lot of healings, called in my healing guide, obviously my healing angel, and people actually who are coming on the show report tremendous changes in their energy or feelings. So that goes on. I always do a group reading. Sometimes I'm inspired to do a few readings for people.
Are those angel card readings? Is that what they are? Okay. Or what kind of readings are they?
It just depends. My miracle deck took a little disappearance this week. So the other night I did the animal deck, which I love doing animal cards for people. Listen, actually the truth is, Victoria, it doesn't matter which card I pull.
No, because
the answers are exactly what's needed. So sometimes I'll just grab a deck, just say, okay, you're coming with me tonight, because I get that these messages are very important to my tribe. So that's really how the show goes. We talk about what people need, what the hour flies by.
Yeah.
And I noticed there's more people on after than when we started. And people do report feeling better, healings, energy, but inspired to lift themselves up and wake up tomorrow morning.
So then tell me about, and you have other shows where we have guests on. And
I do. Right? I'm going to have you on again. I have another show called Step Into the Miraculous. But now I'm inspired to sort of split them. But I do interviews with people and help only inspirational people that inspire me, that I'm learning from, that I feel has wisdom to share with each and every one of you. So I do shows like that. And periodically I do just shows with myself where whatever the subject is, I'm on it. And I have hundreds of those videos on my, it didn't even dawn on me to interview people till this year.
And those are more teaching videos, right?
I have more teaching videos also, and people like that. So that's one of the things that I do.
And then you have your courses.
I have my courses.
And then you have personal counseling.
So I have my courses. It's called the Ultimate Online Intuition Ninja Superpower Training. And that is about teaching you how to say yes. Okay. How to trust the voice and say yes, which I can tell you from personal experience has kept me from many disasters. Because a few years ago, I started tracking what happened when I didn't listen, because I'm very rebellious. I don't always listen. I lost my tax returns. They flew out of my car. The most absurd things they told me. I didn't listen, and the consequences have been very fierce. So I track that and teach you how to track it in the class, teach you how to use your skills. Are you clairvoyant? Are you clairsentient? And how do you create that? And it's a fantastic manual for that. It's a book in itself. But also because I believe in empowering you to have the skills you need to think on your feet and intuitively adapt to the ever-changing climate of today's ridiculously shifting world, okay? And then along with that, though, I always offer my soul awakening sessions and my soul mastery coaching. And I really want to tell you that. Soul awakening. What have we been talking about all day?
Soul awakening.
Right? Soul awakening. Hearing the call, remembering who you are, learning to align your body, mind, and spirit. See, we're back to that body. That's Dr. Joan, and your heart. So you can do what you came here to do. And the soul awakening sessions are very powerful. And they're channeled big time, most of them. Information comes freely about what you need to let go of, what you can adapt, how you can move forward fearlessly. That's your word, how you can move forward fearlessly.
Yeah.
And then what happened was that I realized that I gave so much information that a year later, people still may have had the same, they hadn't quite cleared that list of things. So by doing the soul mastery coaching, we can take you through really literally aligning those 4 components, aligning your body. In other words, having more vitality from within, aligning your relationships, aligning your home, so that everything around you supports you to do what you came here to do. Finally, and at last. So I offer it as a 6-month coaching, but people extend it all the time, because once you get excited about evolving, it just makes all the difference in the world.
Oh yeah, then you just want to keep going. It's really
you just
amazing.
Want to keep going, because the changes, and I can't say they're changes. It's like actually what unfolds is what you always prayed would unfold. So it's that you that's finally coming to fruition.
Yeah. So that it is, you're right. I stopped using the word change a while ago, because we're not changing anything. What we are is we're becoming who we were always meant to be.
Yes.
And so we are. And letting go of everything that is not that.
And all those voices that kept you afraid or kept you from saying yes to who you are, all the critics, the logical people, and so if you get a soul calling and then you sit down and you go, last night I heard this voice. It said I should paint 33 angels in 30 days. What do you think? Okay. What do you think, Dad? What do you think?
Oh my gosh.
You think I can make a living as an artist? Or what do you think? So
don't be surprised if the critics if they get critical of your dreams, because they can't see and they don't know what you know, and that's fine. Follow the prompting of your soul,
because they're not your soul.
Yeah.
And so I spent many years, Victoria, trying to listen to everyone else, what everyone else told me to do. I was, and that has ruined my life, by the way. That's made me stronger, but there are mistakes that I made that I cannot undo, and they still affect me today.
Well, and they are learning lessons, but wouldn't it be nice to be able to go back and go, I'd really rather not have that learning lesson, because that one sucked.
Right. And that one had this trajectory that, caused me to get over there and not over there. So yes.
yeah, it would have been nice to not take those detours. But the
However,
fact is that the detours were there and we learned the lesson so that we don't repeat the lesson. But if we would have actually listened the first time, I'm talking about my own
Yes,
personal
if we
experience.
had
If we would have
listened
listened the first time, we wouldn't have had those
No.
detours. So part of this is about getting really good at listening so that we don't run
Right.
into those pitfalls and bumps
Yeah.
and bumps in the road.
And there is the listening, and there's one other component. Then you have to believe in yourself enough to say, I deserve this. I deserve this, and get over your shyness. There's a lot of components, and that's why.
But
That's
that's
why
why
we
you
do
have
the
this.
soul
That's
mastery
why we do the
training.
work to help people get past all of those, what I call fear-based beliefs, so that
Right.
people can get past those and get on their soul's
Journey.
path. And instead of
Ah,
in the, I kept getting
Yeah.
this visual of, I knew what my path was, and I kept ending up in like the gravel on the side of the road.
Right.
Instead of
right,
on the road.
flat on your face.
Get back on the path. Oh, I'm in the
know?
gravel again.
Another soul hits about. No, these are all lessons on our path. And when we put them in perspective, actually the most amazing thing is when you're detached and you sit here and you kind of look at your life story. And you go, oh my God, that's why that happened. That's why that
Right.
happened. Look what I learned from this part. Oh my God, those creepy parents I had. Look how strong I've become because of it. It's like an amazing experience to sit back and then see it from.
Well, and the soul sets us up.
I
right?
know,
Our,
right? They
our
did a good
soul
job.
sets us up for all the things we need to experience in order to be who we're here to be and serve humanity in this next up leveling that humanity's going through. And we couldn't even have the oomph.
No, we
the
couldn't set
chutzpah,
this up.
right? To do it if we hadn't experienced those lessons that our soul set us up to experience. That's the crazy part of all of it. But you know what? We're actually over an hour already.
No,
Can
we
you believe
can't be.
that?
I don't believe that.
That color looks great on you, by the way.
I don't believe that. Just so you know, if it's over now, this has been fantastic, Victoria. I've shared things that I don't think I've told anyone.
You might, yes, because you have shared things that you've never shared with me, and I'm like, oh, I didn't know that about you. So thank you for sharing that, and thank you so much.
Well,
for
you
sharing
asked,
it.
and you know how else to. Sometimes you want to hear the little details.
Yeah.
Details.
That's how we all connect, right? Especially as women, we're storytellers, and we bond with people that we share our stuff with. So thank you all for watching. I'm so glad you're here today.
Oh, I have to tell them where to find me.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Oh God!
Tell them where to find you before we hang up.
Holy moly, we're in the moment. Okay, so I'm Joan of Angels, and the good news is there's no other Joan of Angels. You can't get lost. So there is one Joan of the Angels. The website's www.joanofangels.com, and just go over there. And also, please go check out my YouTube channel. And again, the YouTube channel is Joan of Angels. And when you're there, please like, subscribe, and share. And do the same thing for Victoria too. But it helps us both. And I would love to see you show up and play with me too.
And I'll put the link to find Joan. I'll put them in the comments below too.
Yeah. And also, the free gift on my website these days is stepping into your soul purpose. I forgot about that.
Oh, yeah. Do go there and get your free gift. That's why we have them, is so that you can have them. You know, that's why they're there.
Oh, God. You are great. The best thing that ever happened, really, the last year when we met, that was also a soul connection. You know, when we met, it is true. I just felt like, oh my God, I know her. I can't wait
same thing
to talk to her. And I know that we did not set it up. It was set up for us. In no way did we have enough people in common to ever even be Facebook friends. Well, finally, maybe Facebook friends, but I didn't know until you walked in my door. And it was such a soul connection. So guys, say yes to the opportunities.
It took a while. I mean, our souls had to really coordinate this, right? But the day Joan and I met, I looked up at her and I was like, oh my gosh, I found a long lost soul sister. I immediately recognized you.
And I said, when are we going to do our first show together? Right.
And this is what, I don't know, 5 or 6 or something like that.
It was last December.
November. There will be more.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not going to do a sneak preview, but we do have something in the works that's going to be we do. We're going to do a show.
You're telling them about it already.
No. I'm just telling them this like the sneak preview. Stay tuned because there's
Stay
something
tuned, guys.
coming.
Yeah, because it's so much
Yeah.
fun, and it's fun to co-host, and we're on the same wavelength. So stay tuned. And meanwhile, don't forget to please like, subscribe, and share. Visit my channel and go get your free ebook at www.joanofangels.com.
Thank you all for sharing. And remember to hold your light so high others can't help but see their own light. Together we will create a world of peace, harmony, and prosperity for all. And as always, get bold, be fearless, and live free. Mwah.